Hey guys, so about 3 years ago I built my main PC, the PC which is sitting underneath the desk right now, and it's what I use for playing games, it's what I use to edit videos, and it's what I'm using right now to record this video. Now 3 years ago this was quite a fast PC. It's got an 8700K CPU, it's got a 1080 Ti, and it's got 64GB of memory, and I've got Samsung Evo NVMe SSDs in there. So it was a really fast computer in its time, but now it is starting to show its age a little bit. From a video editing point of view, videos are taking a little bit longer to render because I've kind of progressed up to 4K, but even from a gaming point of view, I'm trying to go up to 1440p at 144 frames per second, or even higher, 240 frames per second, but right now I'm at like 1080p, I'm at like 120 frames per second. I'm having to dial down all the graphical settings. So it's time for me to build a new PC. It's time for me to upgrade. And in many respects, it is a great time for me to build a new computer because the new AMD Ryzen CPUs are out and they are extremely powerful. And I have pre-ordered a 5950X, if I can read it correctly. So this is the CPU that I have pre-ordered, the Ryzen 9 5950X, and it's a very powerful CPU, 16 cores, 32 threads, and it's got a max boost clock as well. Now, from a video editing point of view, I could have went down the AMD Threadripper route for processing and things like that, but this is more of an all-round solution because it's great for gaming as well because of that higher clock speed. So in that respect, it is a great time to build a PC. But just like 3 years ago, when I built my PC, there is a shortage. There's a shortage of most things, not everything, but quite a few things. Now, with regards to CPUs, there's still Intel CPUs around, but the AMD Ryzen 5900X and 5950X are really in short supply. So like I said, I've had to pre-order this. It won't be delivered for a few weeks. Motherboards are still available, but I have noticed that power supplies seem to be in short supply as well. So I was looking at getting another 1000 watt power supply, and there just isn't a great selection right now. You can still get SSDs, motherboards are all fine. There's no problems with stock there, but power supplies are kind of short supply. CPUs for Ryzen chips are, kind of short supply just now. But the biggest thing right now, and I'm sure you're aware of this, the biggest problem is GPUs. So it's really difficult right now to buy a graphics card. And if you're, even, just checking up on this, you'll know this. You'll know this if you look on any website. You'll know that it's very hard to get a GPU. The only GPUs that you can really buy right now are, well, basically ones are not even as powerful as my 1080 Ti. You're talking about the kind of bottom of the range NVIDIA and AMD cards. So this is eBuyer, which is a store in the UK, I'm sure you're aware of. It's a tech store. And there are a few 3090s still available. So you can still get NVIDIA 3090s for about £1,600 or so. You can see there's a few available. But even 3090s are in short supply. They're still pushing out 2080 Ti's, which is not the card that you should get right now because, 3090 is effectively two 2080 Ti's and a 3080 is much more powerful. The 3080, the NVIDIA 3080 is probably a sweet spot right now and probably the card that everyone should buy because, it's going to retail between probably about 600 to 900 pounds. It should be in theory. They're selling for higher than that right now, but a 3090 offers about 10 to 15% more performance generally over a 3080, but it's like twice the price. So the 3080, I would say, if you're looking for one of the most powerful solutions, it's probably the card that you should go for. But it's kind of, I'm sorry, I went to the wrong camera there. It's kind of pointless even talking about this because you can't get a 3080. It's very difficult to get a 3070 either, unless you're willing to, pay over the odds. And with regards to paying over the odds, well, even GPUs aren't being sold at their correct prices from stores. And you've seen that with a lot of companies in the past as well. Scan are quite bad with this. They're selling CPUs and GPUs over their recommended retail price. And again, we saw this a few years ago when the whole cryptocurrency thing kind of spiked up where everything was in short supply. And we saw a lot of tech companies, they were hypocritical in a lot of ways because they would say, we stand with gamers, all the while they were, just gouging their customers with high prices, despite the fact they weren't really supposed to. It was way above recommended retail prices. So we're seeing this again. GPUs are in incredibly short supply, and through the week, I was trying to order another AMD CPU. I was trying to get one, see if I could, and I was trying to get the new AMD 6900 XT, and I spent hours on the website, and it just crashed, and there's just not enough stock to get around. Now, there are websites that help you monitor this. My friend Mark recommended a Discord group that helped me check prices, and there's websites like this as well. And if you don't check stock or you use any kind of notification system, it's very unlikely that you're going to get a GPU unless you find a website that allows you to pre-order the graphics card. Now, this is an example of a website. It's called nowinstock.net, and you can see it's got a US tracker, and it's got Canada, UK, etc. And the idea is you pick AMD or you pick NVIDIA, and you go through and you just check the card that you want. So, like I say, 3090s are definitely the most expensive one in the consumer end anyway, before you go up to the Quadro cards. This is a card that a type of card that you can get. You can get all variants of 3090, within a week or two if you're willing to look around. Some cards are more readily available than others, but yeah, you will get a 3090 for basically what it sells at if you look around. But the 3080, 3070, even the new 3060 Ti, they're just impossible to get. And these websites, even PC Part Picker and these tracking websites, they're not always accurate. And sometimes when you check them, they say, oh, it's available. By the time you check it, the stock's not there. So it's just murder to get anything. And, I've seen rumors the last few days that there's a NVIDIA 3080 Ti going to come out as well. But it's going to be the same story. When this 3080 Ti, if it does get released, when it is released, it's going to be impossible to even get one. So what's going on? What is going on here? Well, whenever something like this happens, whenever there's a shortage, you'll see a lot of reasons going out, manufacturing reasons. One of the biggest reasons this year is because it's 2020, it's a pandemic, and, there's a lot of different things going on there as well. What's happening with the shortage of Xbox Series X's, Xbox Series S's, and PS5s? The shortage of the next generation consoles, or this generation consoles, the shortage of video game consoles is certainly influencing this as well, because you're seeing a lot of people saying, well, I can't get a PS5, I can't get an Xbox Series X, I'm going to build a PC. But they can't now because of what's going on, and when you do build a PC, it's going to be very expensive. And this kind of filters down as well. Even PC building companies, people who don't build their own PC, people who just want to go out and buy one, and arguably there's a good reason to do that right now because those companies sometimes have parts. But even in the UK, I've noticed companies like PC Specialist, etc. Normally they offer top of the range PCs. They can't offer top of the range PCs right now because there's no graphics cards. They're offering kind of base level, PCs basically. So the console situation is influencing things. The pandemic, manufacturing, stock levels and all that. Cryptocurrency, I guess it comes into it a tiny bit, because obviously Bitcoin's kind of towards $20,000 right now. So that is influencing things. But I think FPGAs and ASIC machines and all that have kind of taken over in cryptocurrency. So I don't think that's a huge issue. The thing is, you can read news articles about this all day and go, why is there shortages? When is this going to end, etc. No one really knows just now. My guess is it will be a few months of madness when it comes to GPUs before we see stock levels starting to kind of, get back to normal. So what I'm going to do really is just kind of pay attention to what's there. I'm kind of reluctant to get a 3090. I keep changing my mind about it. A 3090 obviously is great for me for video editing. It's great for gaming. But I am conscious of the fact that a year from now, they'll release a 4070 or something, which is just as powerful as a 3090. And it'll be half the cost or even more. And I'll lose a lot of money through that. So ideally, I'd like to get a 3080 or an AMD 6900 XT or something like that. Pay about $1,000. But if it comes to it, maybe I will get a 3090. I'll see. But I do have a new PC planned. That's coming in the future. What I will say to anyone, though, is if you're willing to wait a few months, I think CPU prices, Ryzens and things like that, which are in short supply right now, I think those will come down in price a little bit. So maybe if you're willing to wait a month or so, CPUs will be there. As far as GPUs go, I think it's going to be crazy for a few months, but if you can, maybe if you find a good used deal on a 2080 or a 2080 Ti, something to kind of tide you over for 6 months, if you can do that, maybe you could do that and then pick up a 30 series card, when all this craziness has ended. It's kind of hard to say what to do though at this point, because it really, it really comes down to what stock is there and what stock is available. But I personally, I wouldn't go out there and pay like £1,200 for a 3080. And that's what some people are doing. To me, that's crazy, especially at that price point when you could, spend a few hundred more and get a brand new 3090. But this is what happens when the market, everything in the market is in short supply. Prices go up and things go a little bit crazy. So please do stay tuned. I do have more videos coming regarding my PC and how I'm going to put it all together. But another thing I want to touch upon is drama of sorts. This is related to NVIDIA. It's maybe something you've come across, and I don't always like commentating on YouTube drama. It kind of feels, I don't know, kind of worn out, washed out with all this kind of stuff. I'm not someone that likes to follow all these kind of drama things, but this is more related to just companies in general and reviews in general, and well, I guess NVIDIA as well. NVIDIA have got a bad reputation for what they do behind the scenes, and this is a good example of it. So if I show you this, if I go over to my browser, I can do it. So this is Hardware Unboxed, and Hardware Unboxed are one of the most popular PC YouTube channels, and there's quite a few of them, J2 Cents, Linus Tech Tips and all that. Gamers Nexus is fantastic as well. So you can see this headline here, is tweet, sorry. NVIDIA have officially decided to ban us from receiving GeForce Founders Edition GPU review samples. The reasoning is that we are focusing on rasterization instead of ray tracing. They've said they will revisit this should your editorial direction change. More to come. And I've been following this. Obviously, I follow them on Twitter, so I've been following this. And to be clear, this really won't impact our reviews. And they've been going back and forth on this. Now, there's been lots of videos and replies to this, and it's been good to see that, there's J2 Cents talking about it, there's Linus Tech Tips, and everyone is supporting Hardware Unboxed, and they're right to do so. I think they are. So before I give you my opinion on it, I just want to show you the email which was actually sent. So this was sent by the director of global PR for GeForce, like right at the top of NVIDIA, and he emailed Steve from Hardware Unboxed, and you can see that he said here, we've reached a critical juncture in the adoption of ray tracing and has gained industry-wide support from top titles, developers, game engines, APIs, consoles, and GPUs. That is a half-truth, I would say. So ray tracing, if you don't know it, it's like it does make games look better because of lighting and shadows and all that. It really does make games look better. But to say that it has, support from top titles and developers and game engines, it's not really true. When ray tracing came out, there was only a few games that actually supported it. And even now, support for ray tracing is not as good as it should be. I mean, I don't know the exact number of titles, but my guess is under 100 or something. I don't know. But to say that they've got support from gamers and top titles and developers and all that, it's stretching the truth. Sorry, I'll zoom in there. As you know, NVIDIA is all in for ray tracing. Ray tracing is important and core to the future of gaming. Okay, that's their opinion here. That's very subjective. Personally, as someone, I like driving games, I like first-person shooters, Call of Duty and all that. Ray tracing is not something I enable. To me, frame rates is more important. Latency, speed is more important. I do realize that we do want graphics to move forward, and ray tracing is important to that, but saying that it's important and core to the future of gaming, I think is completely incorrect. Some of the best games out just now perhaps are on Nintendo Switch as far as, just fun little games. Graphics is something which is always going to move forward in gaming. It's not core to gaming. Some of my favorite games were not developed this century. They were developed in the 80s and 90s. I don't know, just it's very subjective saying that it's core to the future of gaming, especially when a lot of gamers are actually rejecting ray tracing and they'd rather go for a higher resolution or higher frame rates than ray tracing, because enabling ray tracing drops those. So you can see where I am here. But it's also one of our important R&D, research and development efforts, on revolutionising video games and creating a better experience for gamers. This philosophy is also reflected in developing technologies such as DLSS, reflex and broadcast that offer immense value to customers who are purchasing a GPU. They don't get free GPUs, they work hard for their money, and they keep their GPUs for multiple years. So what I will say about this, right, and this is something we need to address here and now. See this idea that they are getting free GPUs. They are not getting free GPUs. Hardware Unboxed are not getting a free GPU. They're not. And this is something people forget about top YouTube channels, or any YouTube channel really. They'll see someone like, a channel like Hardware Unboxed, and they'll say, look, he got that graphics card sent to them. They got a free graphics card. And I know this myself. I get this all the time. Hey, we want to offer you this free webcam. It's not free. It's not free. The reason they're sending it to you is because they want you to do a review. And sometimes that review takes days, and sometimes, more often than not, that video gets no views, and you're left with a crap piece of tech you could have picked up for £30 yourself. It's pointless. Now, in the case of Hardware Unboxed, I think it's very unfair for them to say they get a free GPU. Again, it's not free. What they're sending them is a product for them to review, for them to get free advertising. And for them to do a video, a video like Hardware Unboxed, and this is where I take my hat off to them, because I know firsthand how hard it is to do these types of videos. When they get a free graphics card, they need to go out, test it against a dozen games, do millions of benchmarks, and do all this testing to tell others what a GPU is all about, to show customers, NVIDIA's customers, AMD customers, everyone, what a graphics card can do. And I will tell you right now, who's someone who's kind of dipped their foot into this whole world of testing, it's absolutely boring. It's a pain in the ass. It's incredibly time consuming. And I've watched some of these guys' channels, Gamers Nexus and J2 Cents and Hardware Unboxed. They can spend 4 or 5 days basically reviewing a GPU, like doing all the testing and doing everything. That's not free. When you're asking someone to do 4 or 5 days of testing and then another day of editing and then promotion, that's a week of work almost. That's not free. It's really not free. Now, I'm not ignorant to the fact that Hardware Unboxed and other channels have to rely on companies to send them products. It's not free though. Remember that. Remember that it's not free. When a company sends you a product, if it was free, they would say, there's your graphics card, enjoy, goodbye. That's not free. This is 100% a strings attached agreement. There are strings on top of the graphics card. Okay, back on topic. Despite all this progress, your GPU reviews and recommendations have continued to focus singularly on rasterization performance, and you've largely discounted all of the other technologies we offer gamers. So what they're obviously upset about is that he's talking about frame rates, he's talking about processing powers and CUDA cores and all that. Personally, that is what I care about. I don't care about ray tracing. And when I'm looking at a hardware review of a graphics card, it helps me understand how powerful a graphics card is when I see frame rates and benchmarks and resolutions and processing power. How it handles ray tracing, okay, mention it. I don't care about it. Now, I'm not saying that other gamers or other people don't care about ray tracing. I'm just saying that from what I've seen, that's what most people care about, and it's why channels like Hardware Unboxed focus on that. It's very clear from your community commentary that you do not see things the same way that we, gamers, and the rest of the industry do. See that? So what he's doing here, and remember, this is the guy who's the head of global public relations. This guy, Brian Del Rizzo, he has already anticipated that Steve from Hardware Unboxed will go public with this. He knows this. So what this is, this whole message, this whole email is not a personal email. This is not a private conversation. This is effectively a public PR email which he has sent to Steve, screwing him over, knowing that he'll go public with it. So when he says despite all this in your GPU reviews and recommendations, despite he says things the same way that we gamers and the rest of the industry do. When he says that, that's 100% PR, 100% PR. It really is for him to say we gamers and the rest of the industry do. If that's the case, do a survey. Do a survey with all you gamers and then see why they're buying GPUs. Is ray tracing the top reason why someone upgrades their graphics card? No, it's processing power, frame rates, resolutions. Ray tracing is a feature, but it's a feature that NVIDIA is ramming down everyone's throats and trying to force us and say, this is what you want. It's not what everyone wants. Some people might want it. It's a cool feature, but to say that we gamers and the rest of the industry do, it's PR. You can see through it all. Our Founders Editions boards and other NVIDIA products have been allocated to media outlets that recognise the changing landscape of gaming and the features that are important to gamers and anyone buying a GPU today, be it for gaming, content creation, or studio and streaming. Right, okay. I'm a YouTuber. Do I care about ray tracing? No, it doesn't help me with my videos. Hardware Unboxed should continue to work with the add-in card partners to secure GPUs to review. And what they mean by that is MSI, Asus, PNY, all the different brands, Gigabyte and all that as well. All the different companies that make variations of the 3070, 3080, 3090, etc. Of course, you will still have access to obtain pre-release drivers and press materials. That won't change. We are open to revisiting this in the future should your editorial direction change. Now, this is the part that really frustrates me. Maybe not as if you're watching this, you're a gamer or, you're just a tech enthusiast. This is something that really frustrates me and really hits the bone, cuts to the bone as a YouTuber, as a reviewer, because this is what big companies do. Because, one of the biggest problems we've got on YouTube and just reviews in general is that if you don't become a shill, and this is probably a bigger issue in the mobile phone world, where if you don't shill a company, if you don't shill their new smartphone or their new camera, they will just exclude you. And that means it's almost it's almost a nail in the coffin, to your YouTube channel. So say you've got 500,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers and you want to review the newest iPhone. If you review that iPhone on release day and you buy it with your own money, you'd think your review would have more value, but it doesn't get to the top of the rankings because Apple have hand-selected, and Samsung and Google have hand-selected who they want to get review samples a couple of weeks before, and they can send out the reviews just a few days before. You can't compete with that with the way that YouTube's algorithm works. And, a lot of these top companies recognize that. So what they do is they say, well, if you're not going to push your agenda, if you're not going to basically be a shill and say exactly what we want you to say, then we're not going to send you the products. And what they do with this, the purpose of doing this, the reason for doing all of this is that they can shape the reviews. They can shape what everyone thinks about a particular product. They can shape the experience of how everyone views a certain product, certainly at the beginning, before people actually start testing a product. And it puts a lot of these YouTubers under pressure because if, like someone like Hardware Unboxed, they say, well, ray tracing is this, but this is what you want to focus on. They're going to get excluded now because they're not following the agenda. They're not reading, from the same page as NVIDIA. It's something I've experienced myself over the years, and it's something I need to think about moving forward and how, I take my own YouTube channel forward. So far, my experience, my interaction with companies when they've told me to do things like that is that swivel. I don't care. I'd rather just do different videos than have to be a sellout. But I'm not in a position where my channel relies on income or it relies on views from, big companies sending me products early. I don't know. I really just don't like the way that NVIDIA have handled this. And it's not just NVIDIA that are guilty of this. So thankfully, no surprise, NVIDIA have backtracked. Big news, I've received an email from NVIDIA apologising for the previous email and they've now walked everything back. It's been a roller coaster. They come out you can see this today, they've released a video talking about the whole experience. I'll leave a link to this so you can check it out. I've actually not watched this particular one. I've watched all the other kind of videos about it, but I think this is a problem with big tech companies in general, and on YouTube in general, where companies try to shape how people view their products, and they do that through the media. And I mean, that's always happened in the past in traditional media, but we're seeing it on YouTube. And I do think that more YouTubers need to take a big stance to companies and just tell them to F off, just to put it politely. And I hope it's something that changes. This is something that goes on behind the scenes, but it's clearly a major problem. So, yeah, I've talked about this subject in the past, but yeah, this is something that kind of, annoyed me. Let's put it like that. So thanks for watching, guys. I know it's been a long video. Moving forward, I will talk about the PC that I'm building. There's a lot of things I'm going to do differently this time with the PC. I might go for a bigger PC case. I might go for an all-in-one cooler just so it's easier to work with, etc. And I will get a new graphics card at one point. I'll leave links to that. I'll leave a link to that stock website so that you can check it out and see if it helps you. I'm not sure how much it helps, but yeah, check it out. If you're looking for a graphics card, just keep checking all these different websites, see if they have a pre-order option, contact the company and ask them what their position is in all of this. But really, there's so many people gunning for these graphics cards, including scalpers, that it's going to be hard to get a graphics card at a good price right now. It's kind of needle in a haystack time. But thanks for watching, guys. I'd love to hear your opinion on all of this. GPU shortages, CPU shortages, and the whole NVIDIA debate, which I don't like seeing. But yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion on all of that. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more videos, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Take care.